Welcome to In the House. I'm Mark Shiver. So excited. Guest is Representative Mark Pless from Haywood and Madison County, representing District 118. Representative Pless, you've done this before. You're a veteran, so we'll just dive right in. How about that?
Sounds great to me.
Now, I like doing this with you because you're creative. Last time you were at a lake. This time, I believe that's the legislative building behind you, correct?
It is. We didn't have a lake to look at this time, so we decided we would be down here in Raleigh. We might as well choose where we work at.
There you go. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. You did a great job your first time out during the in-between time between last session and this one. This session has gotten off with a bang. I was waiting on an elevator before I was getting set up to meet with you, and one of the members said, "Boy, we're really going fast." Do you feel that way?
I do. It's been a sprint this year. Last time it was a marathon. We knew we were going to be here a while. Everything kind of slowly began, but this time it has not happened.
Well, it seems like the bills are being heard one concentrated day a week. Is that, you like that, or is that taking something to get used to?
I enjoy it. We don't really know what we're going to work on until we get down here. As far as the hot topic is.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the fact that we only really have one hard day because that gives us time to finish committee work and do the things that actually it takes to get a bill to the floor. Most people don't realize that. There's so much goes on behind the scenes. They just know when we pass something. They don't realize it may take days to ever get it there.
Well, one thing that passed pretty quickly, I was surprised. I think some other people were as well, was how fast the Medicaid expansion passed in the House. Wouldn't you say that was a pretty quick doings?
It was. It looked last year like there was no way that it was ever going to happen. I'm not real sure that that was ever the accurate portrayal of it, but there were a few issues with getting it passed last year, and those didn't get addressed. But it seemed like this year everyone was willing to make it happen.
Yeah. So it's gone through the House already. Here we are, March 1st, and it's over in the Senate. I'm sure that grinding out the nitty-gritty details will be more tenuous and take a little longer. But one thing that's been said, and I wanted to come right to you and ask you this, because you would know, hearing from your constituents and all. I was reading today that someone said there's a health care challenge in Western North Carolina. Would you agree with that statement?
There is. There's a couple of different challenges that keep people from receiving what they want.
And do you think, putting you on the spot here, I'm sorry, the Medicaid expansion will help that?
I believe so. I believe we put some things in there that over time it is going to make it better for the folks. If it doesn't, then we're going to need to look at some other solutions because we've got to address it.
One of the things that you put in there is one of the things that we wanted to talk about is you had an amendment that I think will greatly enhance the opportunity for getting more coverage and care, particularly in your part of the state. Tell us about that amendment.
Yes, one of my big concerns in my holdout last year, the biggest holdout was the fact that we do not have enough providers. If we give someone Medicaid and tell them you can go to a doctor to get care now, if we don't have enough doctors, if we don't have enough nurses to take care of them, we really didn't do anything. All we got done was give them a card, tell them that we did something, when in reality, as they start calling around, they realize that it's not changed anything. So my goal last time was to get it addressed and get it to where we could start bringing some folks in. It's not a fix overnight, but I was able to get enough for about 200 positions in this amendment. It's a little over $14 million, and that should address a lot of the shortages.
You know, and this is not really a question, but if you want to comment on it, you can. I think we're finding out, Representative Pless, that there's a lot involved in providing health care for people. You know, it's not just as easy as saying, well, I'm going to go to the doctor. You know, you have to have the doctor in place, and then they have to have the specialists if there's a need for that. You have to have the people that run the tests, the labs, the diagnostics. It's a lot. And so what you were able to accomplish by getting appropriations in that amendment, I think was necessary. Absolutely.
I think that the willingness of the other folks in the legislature to get that problem solved speaks well. I think the Senate's going to try to do a few other things that they see that are important, and we'll see what it comes back over as.
Well, good. I hope it's something that is highly successful for our state and for folks in your district and your region as well. Now, today we could have a little party because I was listening and you had a bill that you were the primary sponsor of, and it got passed today in the House. So tell us about the bill that you had passed today.
You know, my area was devastated with Tropical Storm Fred, and we've been dealing with that. Because of the work that I dealt with down there, I was placed on a oversight committee, and the oversight committee only deals with Florence and Matthew, which hit the coast several years ago, 2016, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of recovery that hasn't happened, a lot of problems with getting folks back in their homes. And through the oversight committee, we discovered one, and that's what the bill was about today. Most people don't realize that in the state of North Carolina, over $30,000 of everything has to be bid out. So what we wound up doing was HUD will allow a $250,000 limit, but we've been sticking to our $30,000.
Right.
This funding that we have appropriated, we needed to match what they had so that NCOR and the folks down there can keep moving forward and speed the pace up. We're running out of time. A lot of folks have been out of their homes 6 years.
You know, that's just hard to imagine. I can't imagine that, to be honest with you.
I couldn't until I went down there.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that there were areas in your district that were affected. I know that one of those storms wasn't, I'm going to forget which one it was, but it just rained for days and it really did a lot of damage. So will this bill that you had passed, will that apply to that recovery as well?
Yes, this isn't specific to any particular named storm. What we're going to do with Tropical Storm Fred, now that we have opened this up, as they start rebuilding, which they haven't done any of that yet, replacing homes, as we start rebuilding, then they're going to not have to comply with that 30,000. So our area is going to get a jump start that the folks with Matthew and Florence did not have.
Well, that'll be good. So
yes.
Have you noticed in the space of about 2-3 minutes, we've gone from talking about Medicaid expansion and healthcare to recovery from a storm. You guys are amazing. I don't think people have any idea how much you have to be involved with. And not that you're an expert on everything, but you've got to at least know so that you can vote, you know, in a reasonable manner. I think it's amazing.
This is a day-to-day thing in Raleigh. A lot of folks don't realize that. We have so many issues that we deal with. We are never on the same topic for more than an hour usually, if we're lucky and there for an hour. We just deal with things as they come to us. We set our schedules to get the work done, and it's topic to topic because we got a large state with a lot of issues.
Yeah, we sure do. Well, speaking of being busy, I wanted to ask you about some of the other bills that you have sponsored, and we're waiting to see if those will make it through the process. What are you most interested in at this point?
Well, I have a TDA bill for Haywood County that I've been working on. They asked me to do this last time. I introduced it. It didn't go anywhere. It went to the Senate and died.
TDA, tell us, for those that, like me, that don't know what that means.
Well, kind of what the TDA bill does is every motel, Airbnb, vacation rental by owner, all of those are allowed to charge a tax on the room rent so that they can actually advertise and expand their tourism.
Right.
So Haywood County currently has 4%. The maximum statewide is 6%, and a lot of folks enjoy that 6%. Now that we could go to 6%, the county commissioners cannot do that unless we give them the authority. The state of North Carolina retains that authority, and so far, individual counties have been able to ask for it and get it, and we haven't been able to get it for Haywood County. But hopefully this year we're going to be able to do it.
And that'll help, obviously, folks that are trying to make renovations or advertise or increase their business.
It'll help the property owners there. It'll draw more people in. It'll help the businesses that have store fronts and things where they're selling products. It'll help them. But one of the big things that we need, this is used for infrastructure only. So this 2% that's coming down now would help us build things for it to come. There is no TDA police. There are standards and there are recommendations that we would like to see, but there is nothing in state law that says you will do specific things. So my bill has a specific setting in there to where they could do a sports park, they could do a conference center, convention center,
right?
Because I want them to use it for something that is truly going to bring people. A lot of people have a lot of ideas on how it works, but I would like a safeguard so that it's not spent in a way that is not acceptable.
Okay. Well, again, you've got your eye on the ball with another topic, and speaking of topics, medical marijuana, that's coming over to the House or has come to the House, and I don't know if you want to talk about that or not. It seems somewhat controversial to some people. Other people, it's a godsend, maybe. Any thoughts on the concept as a whole, or would you rather wait till you get in place to vote before you start talking about it?
I don't mind talking about it. I've been pretty upfront, even last session, where I stand on it. I don't agree with it. I don't think that the state of North Carolina needs to do that. I'm always going to stand on the side that says we don't. This is not something I'm willing to waver on, and for a couple of reasons. One of the big reasons, and a lot of folks don't realize this, is when I swore into office, I swore that I would uphold the laws in North Carolina, but also the federal laws and the Constitution. Well, in federal law, it's illegal for us to do anything with marijuana. It's a controlled substance. So if I vote and say, yes, I'm okay with doing that, which other federal law am I willing to break my oath for? So I'm not willing to do that at all. The other side to it is I spent a lot of time on EMS. I spent 22 years on an ambulance, and I've saw drug addiction. And I know there are folks out there that maybe could benefit from some of this. I think the pharmaceutical companies should capitalize on this and figure out a way to get the THC to the folks that need it without the way that it's being used, because I think the drug abuse is going to be the biggest problem. We're going to end up with folks that are doing it because it looks good, or it's because they have a habit, or because of something else that's going on in their life. And I don't think they're going to do it for medicinal purposes. I think they're going to do it for personal recreation. And every state that has done it for medicinal has gone to recreation at some point. So I think we're opening up the wrong door for that.
Well, sounds like you definitely know where you stand on that. That's one thing I know. The people that are behind you in your district appreciate about you. They don't have to wonder, well, where does Representative Pless stand on any issue? You're always up front, and I know folks appreciate that. I was thinking about it. I quit smoking a while back, and I can't imagine filling my lungs again with smoke. So if they had another way to do it, I know they have CBD oil now that's legal that doesn't have the THC or whatever, but I can't imagine putting all that smoke in my lungs again. So I'm not sure how I feel about all that. And I'm becoming one of these smokers that doesn't like the smell of smoke, and I'm being annoying to other people.
I can understand that. I grew up in the age where it was on TV and it was advertised, and my dad did it, and I understand 100%. It used to be the thing to do, and then it fell a favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the budget, Speaker Moore talking like, well, we're going to do something in the House and maybe take some time off around Easter. Man, that's fast, Representative Pless. I mean, good grief. This is your second term, so you probably haven't been through a lot of these budget things, but it sure didn't go that way last year. But it sure, I think the order of the day is that the Speaker is determined to move things along, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they get, something out of the House sooner rather than later. I'm not going to predict when, but,
I think the sooner it gets out, the sooner we can reach an agreement, because no one's going to just accept what we do, the Senate or the governor. And I think that opens the door to give them time to get it right without being, hopefully November, when we did it 2 years ago, That was a long time, but before that, they didn't get one. So
Yeah.
hopefully we're going to be able to get one, and it'll be a negotiation between all of the people that need to be at the table. So the sooner we get it there, the sooner we can get it finished.
I'm sorry, I meant to ask you this before, but let's go back to your Haywood County, Madison County bill on the tax. TDA, I believe is what you called it.
Yes.
Is that something that's called a local bill, right?
Yes, that's a local bill.
Will the overall House, is that something they really care about? Or are they going to say, here's the guy, he's from this district, he knows what his district needs, and they'll trust you? Or are you going to have to, really, really pitch hard?
Typically what happens is in the House, I will run the bill, I will go to committee, I will do everything I need to do to get it passed, then I send it over to the Senate. I am not able to accomplish the same things in the Senate. My Senator Corbin will need to be able to go to committee and get it passed over there. And it just, even though I don't get objections to it, it does not mean that they will not have them in the Senate. There will be folks that do not agree with this, and if the votes are not there, there's no guarantee it's going to pass just because we got it done. And that's kind of where it ends up every year. Some fall short, some don't.
Yeah. So even though it's a local bill, it's not a guarantee.
It is not a guarantee. Once it crosses over, that's kind of where it's at. And I've seen a few controversial local bills, and we ended up passing some form of them, but there had to be some changes made for that to happen.
Well, I'm going to let you go here, but I want to ask you, is there anything else that's kind of a hot button for you that you're working on, or that you maybe haven't filed yet and you're going to file, or you have filed and we haven't talked about? What else is burning that you want to see?
We don't have a whole lot going on right now. We've kind of finished up for this week. I've got a few bills that are in bill draft. Nothing is ready yet, so I haven't been able to proof them so that I could actually talk about them yet. We got to make sure they're set up exactly correct. But I've got a couple of more. I have one that I introduced last time that's a public bill about falsifying a medical document, and I'm going to try to get that one passed. I've spoken to some in the Senate about it. It went over there last time and died. So I'm going to try to be able to get it across the finish line this time, because I think the people need protection in that situation, to where a person who's caring for them can't just put what they want to in the report. It has to be factual. And this is addressed at pre-hospital. It is not addressed to doctors, nurses, folks like that. I'm trying to address an issue that I know is there for paramedics, firefighters, the folks that are out there that are giving medical care. We need some control. There's never been anything to control that.
Wow. Well, that sounds interesting to me. That sounds like something that might be worth doing. This is probably totally off the subject of that, but as a patient, I notice a lot of times that they've got this cool thing now called My Chart, and you can go into My Chart and see test results and see what the doctor says. And sometimes there's stuff in there that's not right. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to get them to change it. And I'll mention it to the doctor, and they're like, well, yeah, okay, well, we'll try to get, and it's like, you got this thing in there that you've never had in your life, but it says you're, anyway, I'm rambling, but I support you, Bill. Just
well,
the sound of it.
That opens up a different avenue that we probably need to look at. I wasn't aware of that, but mine was for people who intentionally do it to conceal the way they treat their patients. If they did something wrong, mine's aimed more at those folks that know they did something wrong and they intentionally conceal it.
Oh,
well, those are the people I'm headed for. But it sounds like we probably need to address a correctional feature to allow folks, if they find an error, to have it corrected. Because once it's in your medical record, it is there forever.
I'd be for that. Absolutely.
Let's see if we can work on that too.
All right. Well, Representative Pless, it's a pleasure to have had you on in the House once again. I think you're doing not only good work, but needful work. And I think you've got a good idea what your district needs. And so if I had a hat, I'd tip it. My wife passed away a few years ago, but she had this North Carolina antique bottle of Coke. And so I bring it out every year right before the Duke game. And so I hope we can, it'll bring me some luck for my Tar Heels. But
I hope it does too. And I'm sure the speaker feels the same way.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'll let you go. thank you for being outside on such a pretty day. And thank you for joining us again on In the House.